Hey guys, today we're gonna be talking about design. So I do want to talk about design in this channel because I started as a designer before I went into Webflow. And yeah, it's a topic that is dear to me. So today I wanted to talk about how to take those pretty generic design without souls, pretty much, to the next level. So the reason I started to think about this is because last weekend, actually, my girlfriend asked me if I can whip up a quick portfolio for her. She has a few projects as a data analyst that she wanted to put up on a portfolio. So I just had a couple hours in the weekend to spend on that. So I started with like a really basic, design, and that's what she wanted. Just something super simple, just to show her projects. So I started from that, and then I just wanted to still add a little bit of spice, even though, I didn't have much time to spend on this. So I just want to show you how I did that. And then after that, we'll go through a little bit more advanced project that I did for a client recently to show how this same idea works in a bigger scale, basically. All right, so let's take a look in this first draft that I did. So this is really basic, and the copy is not the final copy. Like everything is just placeholder, but it was just to kind of get the structure. So we have this, really basic hero, her skills, and then here will be the projects, and then like a quick CTA basically. So nothing crazy, and that's actually what we're going to keep. So we're gonna keep this really generic kind of layout. The goal here is not to get a word or anything like that on the design, but even though like everything is kind of correct, we got good contrast between headline, the font, we got spacing is pretty correct. I still think like, even though I don't want to spend much time on this, there is some small things we can do to improve this. And the main idea is that you need to get a bit of a concept. So I usually would start from the brand identity, or then the client would give me, their brand identity, and that would give me a lot of those elements that I can work with to give it some personality. But in this case, and like, many other projects, when you work with startups, sometimes they don't have a brand identity yet. So you kind of have to come up with your own concept, your own visual direction, if I may. So in this case, I was just thinking, let's keep it pretty, let's say cliche. She's a, data analyst. So I was thinking like, okay, the font, even though this is my favorite font, Poppins. No, just kidding. I hate it. But it was just to get something down quickly. So I was thinking, first of all, the font, I mean, it makes or breaks your design, in my opinion. So I was thinking of going with something a little bit more techy. And then about the data, I was like, how can we show a little bit of that data thing in there? Maybe it could be the way I separate these sections, because like I said, I don't want to basically like mess up with the layout too much. I just want to add a little bit of spice. So here is what I did. So first of all, I changed the font to something a little bit more techy, and I paired it with a mono font, which is used a lot for programming. I think that this nice pairing between this sans serif and this mono font gives that, a little bit techy feel, like a typewriter kind of vibe. And then on top of that, I thought I would add this little, how do you say this? The way I imagined it was this kind of like data, like data moving. So yeah, I just used this. I just created this really quickly with some shapes, and I just combined them on Figma to create this little shape. And then I used it in between the separation here for the section. And I think that just like that, just by adding a little bit of these elements to the design, and of course I also added a little bit of a gradient to make it look like a little bit more modern, I would say. I think just that we still have a very simple website, don't get me wrong, but I think we already have a little bit of personality in there, and it kind of helps you get into that universe of like data analysis. So here's the before and after. Once again, not a big change, just about the font, the color, and a small pattern that I added here. And in my opinion, already, that elevates the design a lot. Of course, like I said, this was just a couple hours, of my time. So let's get into a little bit of a bigger project that I did. So this project was for a startup called Resistomap, and what they do is antibiotic resistance monitoring. So they didn't really have a brand identity, so I had to come up with pretty much everything: the fonts, colors, and the idea, once again, like the concept behind it. And so the concept came from when I started to think about this monitoring concept as a kind of like a radar idea. So I was thinking about these circles, that you can see sometimes on those like radar maps kind of thing. And I can show you like how it looks like on the website. So once I had that idea, and of course that was validated by the client, then I kind of design everything around this. So as you can see, all the elements, the buttons, the eyebrow here, and the shapes in the background, they're all kind of stemming from that idea. And I think that really helps to tie the design together, and of course not make it so generic, and have some kind of identity and personality. Like once again here, instead of having your standard like feature section or like cards, like I decided to make them into circles, and when you hover, the circle kind of like expands. All right, so that was it. This is how I think about design and how to elevate like a pretty generic design to give it some kind of identity and personality, to stand out basically in this World Wide Web. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.